a rather disturbing, phenomenon on our streets. February 4, 2025, unprovoked, the Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu, in front of everyone, in front of the whole country, promised to fix 70% of our street lights in the capital city in 50 days. I was at that event when she made that promise. 50 days would mean that by March 27th, at least 70% of our street lights in the country should have been fixed. Days after, is that really the case? My colleague in the ChannelOne newsroom, Fred Duho, was on the Spintex Road stretch and went there to ascertain whether or not that promise has been truly fulfilled. Yes, the report.
Original Minister Linda Oklu gave a 50-day ultimatum to ensure that about 70% of street lights in the Greater Accra region are fixed to curb the robbery and also enhance driving on our major stretches. Today is exactly the 50th day, and we are going to drive through the principal streets in Accra to ascertain if indeed she's been able to live up to her promise. Now, we are on the N1, which is also known as the George Walker Bush Highway, connecting the Accra Mall all the way to the Wager areas, precisely at the Achimota overhead, that the entire stretch is currently dark. We see the poles mounted right in the middle of this major highway, but it remains very dark, and drivers would have to rely on their headlights to be able to maneuver on this particular stretch.
Light to be a year, oh, light to be a year, teaching say, yeah, and number moto is Ukrana. Eh, my, if you would have a high Swiss, yeah, light to be a shadow, yeah, they were what. Eh, boy.
Driving at night on these stretches, what really has been the challenge for you?
Eh, mom, in fact, Eddie, no, couldn't minimum. If we possess, we will be our knee, and I say, be our knee walk from Kakara, a hard.
One major stretch of interest has to do with the road connecting from the airport or the Accra Mall heading towards the Palace Mall all the way to the Spintex Road. And on this particular stretch, it is quite obvious. It is pitch dark. The street lights are there. We see the poles, we see the lamps, and but the entire stretch is totally dark. One lamp is projected onto the left side, the other is also projected onto the right side to brighten the entire stretch. We see over 100 street light poles all the way to the flower pot runabout, and all of them are not functioning. We are going to drive further to ascertain where these street lights have been installed and whether they are working or not. All the way from the Reach runabout to the frontage of Parliament House, we see that the entire stretch is also dark. The street lights are not working on this particular road. It is only in the case of the Parliament House towards the sports stadium where we have some isolated cases where street lights are standing. In terms of distance, you can see one or two working heading towards the sports stadium. We are currently around the Independence Square, and the stretch we see a number of street lights. Some are working. They are old street lights that are already working. Nothing new has been added to it. From the Independence Square to the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, we noticed that a number of street lights are working. So the road is quite clear and bright. The road connecting to the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum is dark. This same stretch connects to a number of courts in this enclave and all the way to the old Bank of Ghana office. In the heart of Accra is one of the busiest business centers known as the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, where you can see business still alive. If you are traveling to any part of the country, no matter the time of the night, you would definitely get a vehicle that is heading towards your destination. But surprisingly, this entire area has no street light functioning, and we see or we spot a number of them, more than 20 of them actually, on the overhead on the first and second tier. There are no street lights working.
We task the roads and highways, and they are working on some of the lights. Urban roads is also working on some of the lights, as far as feeder roads and the assembly as well. So the fact that we met our target doesn't mean that we are not completing.
The fact remains that if street lights are installed across the city, it's going to enhance security as well as the driving for the motoring public. Shockingly enough, the frontage of the police training school at Tesano also without street lights. And so we ask, where are the street lights that were promised the good people of the Greater Accra region, at least 70% of it to be installed across the city? Where are those street lights? Reporting for Channel One News, I am Fred Duho.
Unbelievable scenes, pitch darkness in some areas, 50 days and more later. As to whether the promise has been fulfilled, you are best pleased to also tell us what's happening in your locality, right? So send in all of your messages via our WhatsApp number on your screen. Use the hashtag Sunday Breakfast. I also want to hear from you. Where do you stay? Is it dark? Are your lights fixed? Are you able to see clearly at night when you are driving? We'll be glad to hear all of your useful responses to this. But joining me in studio is a very good friend of mine, Fred Duho. There are other things I can't say, but only to say that we produce a show together.
Charlie, we'll be good.
Right, good morning and welcome to Sunday Breakfast.
Good morning, Jude.
I mean, I saw you on this report, even though I'm also connected to it in a way because it was my interview with the minister that generated this whole thing, right? I asked her a question around her priority and her vision for the ministry and for Accra, and she made this comment. 50 days later, you are backtracking it. Give us an overview of what you saw. We've seen bits of it, but beyond what we put in the report, what was the state of affairs really on our streets?
Jude, let me just start from the fact that per my assessment, I'm going to give her like 30 to 40% job done.
That's a fail.
I mean, that's a failure generally, because what she promised was that, and to quote her, she's going to make sure that about 70%, at least 70% of street lights in Accra are fixed. So let's even go by that assessment. What was the basis for her making such a promise? One, she's identified a problem, knowing that Accra is pitch dark, probably at night, and that equally enhances crime. Driving on the major stretches become a problem.
So safety as well.
So she's really and clearly identified the problem. Now, what is next? She got into office barely a month when she made that promise. And one would expect that when you are driving through town, you should be able to see a number of engineers trying as much as possible to install or fix the street lights. Since she made that promise, I have kept my eyes wide open, at least driving through town, both day and night, hoping that I will see men at work fixing street lights. The only time I saw people working was when they were fixing the street lights in front of the Jubilee House or the Flagstaff. That was the only time I saw men fixing
I've seen people also fix street lights. I've also seen people fix street lights on the Major Mahama bypass stretch. As to whether they are functioning at night, I don't know, but I've seen them actively. In fact, I was driving in the day, I saw the lights on, quite a number of people around fixing, but go ahead.
So I was still making the point that the basis upon which she made the promise is because she's identified the problem. Now, what was the level of lightning in the city at the time of the promise? And what is the level of, the illumination we can see in town as of now? To be honest, we should use some of the major stretches in this assessment. talk of Accra Mall all the way to La Paz. Okay, that is the N1, the George Walker Bush Highway. It's a major road that almost everyone uses. Even when you're traveling from Togo, Benin, Nigeria, and you are heading towards the western part, which is Burkina and the rest, you will definitely use this major N1. That road is still not connected. So if such a major road, an international road at that, is not connected, you can't tell me that you've done 70% of light connection in the city.
But she's done the Independence Avenue.
No.
That's also a major road,
Go
right?
to the ministries. Go to the ministries. It's pitch dark.
The High Court, the Starlet 91 road.
Dark.
Yes, when you drive from...
Is it a Liberation Road,
even
right?
Parliament, you would only see 1 or 3 maximum, 3 street lights working in front of Parliament's gates. But from the Ridge Runabout to Parliament is pitch dark.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm saying that I've used also the Trade Fair Road, right? From Bema Camp Runabout. In fact, from Elwak all the way to Trade Fair, right? The turn that takes you to the La Palm Beach, the beach road. I've seen the street lights working there. So
you see, so
to
the
say-
point has,
to say
no, the point
is-
has
is-
to be made. The point has to be made. That's why I didn't even give her a 0 from the start. Because 30% obviously indicates that she's done some work. But that is not enough. And that is in nowhere compared to the promise she's made. 70% of street light would mean that at least when you are driving on a major
Stretch.
you would see functioning street lights. That's what I'm trying to put
understand
across.
where Fred
When you
is
even
coming
drive from, let's say, Accra Mall heading towards Medina, aside the Okponglo connection, the rest are dark.
Right.
I have driven at night and I can confidently say that the street lights that one would expect, it is one thing flying at night, probably when you are in the aircraft or even flying a drone, and you see that the entire Accra looks so nice, the lights are glittering here and there.
Fred, hold on to your thoughts. Let's go on Zoom and speak to Engineer Abdullahi Mahama, a road and building consultant.
so that's your video to write.
Yes, these are aerial shots of Accra. And it clearly tells you that at night you see that a lot of lights are, but the spots that are also dark are just so obvious. When you get to the ground, the reality dawns on you.
Interesting.
Okay. Engineer Abdullahi Mahama, good morning and welcome to Sunday Breakfast.
Good morning, and how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you yourself?
I'm fine.
Great. Engineer, when you finish a road construction and you hand over the project, who's in charge of maintaining the street lights and making sure that the lights remain on or stay on?
Well, I'll say good morning to your cherished viewers. I must say that it's not all the roads that we construct that has the street light component as part of it. There are some roads that you construct without the street light. The one that we've done with the street light, in fact, when we are handing over the project, if it is a Ghana Highway project, we will do what we call the handing over to the Ghana Highways Authority. Once the consultant and the contractor hands over to the Ghana Highways Authority, the responsibility trickles down to the various assemblies where the project or the road actually goes through. You would have some of the roads like the one you was talking about, the N1. And the N1 is a very long stretch. It's almost like 540-kilometer road that traverses from Aflao through Accra motorway, Bukabush Highway, through Malam to Kaswa, through Cape Coast, all the way to Axim, and then to Côte d'Ivoire. So there are some roads which are under the Department of Urban Roads. So once you are done with it, same as the Ghana Highways Authority roads, you hand over to the agency, and then they in turn manage the project, the road, and its ancillary facilities that the project actually had in the scope of works. But when it comes to street lighting, it's a very complex area. I listened to Amaliba on 30th of April on your station, your station, CTFM, and he made some cogent points. the Energy Commission actually is one of the bodies that see to regulate other agencies or to conform or to come to terms to how to see to light on our streets. Now, the local government ministry is one. The Ghana, what do you call it? The Ministry of Energy is two. And then the third one is the Ministry of Finance. Even finance is part of it. So once these agencies come together, even the local government authority now goes down to the MMDCs, the metropolitan, the district, and the municipal. They are actually ensured to get to the street light within their communities. So I'm kind of surprised about the minister's assurances of a 70% of street light that are supposed to be completed or to be functioning in the first 50 days of her stewardship. I don't know whether she was really briefed about the very challenging issues that are within the road sector, especially when it comes to the lighting. We've heard over the past 2-3 years that a lot of the subcontractors who are ensuring that our lights stay on have not been fully paid their monies, even including traffic lights. And so unless, of course, the minister has an information that all those subcontractors have been fully paid their monies, we have an issue with thievery. We install street lights, and in a matter of days and weeks, thieves go onto these street lights and then disengage all the cables. In fact, some of the street lights are in series. So let's say from the N1, let's say from Tetekwashi towards Apenkwa, it's about 7 kilometers. When there are when the lights are functioning, and let's say we have unfortunate 4 or 5 accidents and some of the poles are affected, depending on the nature of how those lightings were done in terms of their series, you may have isolated cases of total blackout of the rest of the street light where the accident might have occurred. So it's a very complex area that even us in the engineering field, we're actually having challenges as to who is solely responsible for making sure that our street lights are fine. You know, there's another one. You know, when we are getting closer to elections, a lot of these street lights are given to some of the local assembly men and women to actually make sure that they install this light within those local or arterial roads within their area for their campaign and to get their vote. So it's let me say, it is not actually streamlined. And so everybody takes responsibility haphazardly on the street lighting system. The MPs are doing their bit. And I just about a year ago or less, before the election, some of us, even as influential persons within the community, have to be pushed to give some 5-10 street lights to the assemblymen and women who are actually coming to us to also help in their areas to get those areas illuminated. So this is how we
Engineer Mahama, my colleague Fred Duho, in his assessment, and he's been covering this for some time, he said he would rate the minister 30 to 40%. As a road and building consultant, do you share in his assessment of the Greater Accra Regional Minister's performance with regards to the fixing of street lights in the capital?
It depends on the roads that Feduho, who is my very good friend, had actually accumulated to strike the percentage. If I am looking at the Achimota Ofankor stretch of the road, if I take from Circle to Ofankor or Circle to Achimota, if I take the N1, if I take the Revolution area, if I take the ministries, if I take Circle towards 37, Circle 37 towards Trade Fair, if I take the Medina stretch all the way to, like, say, Pantan Junction or to Ayimensa, if I take the Kaswa stretch, which is totally dark.
But Ayimensa doesn't necessarily fall under the minister's.
Greater Accra goes all the way to Ayimensa. In fact, that is the end. That is the end of Greater Accra. When you are climbing the mountain, you have just entered the Ebri South district.
Interesting.
I did the route from Pantan Junction to Manfi Roundabout. That was in 2004 to 2007. So I know where the barrier ends. That is Ayimensa proper, where people start to climb the hill. Is where Accra ends on that corridor.
Interesting.
Thanks
And
so.
Go ahead.
And so if I don't want to give a percentage, but I'm sure that in the 4 years of the minister, we will not get to 70% as she's saying. We wouldn't get to 70%. Because the other thing is, do you know, have we ever also thought of the burden of the energy on our supply? If we should illuminate every light in Accra, which are not energy saving bulbs, I'm sure the demand of the energy that we are getting from our power suppliers would go beyond the roof. And I'm sure maybe Fedu has not even come to terms with that yet.
Interesting. When you were talking, you mentioned that part of the responsibility falls on the Energy Commission, the Energy Ministry, the local government ministry, and even the finance ministry, right? Clearly, that model in terms of managing our street lights to ensure they are working effectively has not really worked, right? So as a consultant, what will you say should be the new approach in terms of best practice going forward? For the 30% that Fredo says the minister has fixed, a major part of the problem is not necessarily fixing the light, but keeping the lights on. So the question is, as a consultant, right, what would you advise should be the approach in making sure that this doesn't become part of the other 60% of street lights that are not functional in the capital?
Well, I think that we should actually segment maybe the Greater Accra and by extension the other regional the other regions into some segment. Let's say if Accra is about 10 segments, there should be a tender for what we call the electrical contractors to be awarded, those who qualify to be awarded the contract to install and then make sure that those street lights are functioning, minus the energy supply. If energy is not being supplied to them, that is a different ballgame. But once there's energy on that corridor, the contractors are supposed to ensure that these areas are actually getting their light during mostly in the evenings. Now, when we don't streamline this, it means that, like I said earlier, the assemblyman is doing a bit in his community. The MP is doing his bit for his political gains. The local MC is also doing his bit. Now, the regional minister, his or her duty is actually to help to collaborate with these agencies. If I see the MMDCs who per the law are supposed to ensure that there's illumination of light in their communities, are not accountable to the regional minister. They were appointed by the president and they respond to the president and parliament. But in a larger term, the regional minister helps to collaborate so that it will be in sync with the national agenda.
Interesting.
You understand? So we should be able to segment all our areas in Accra or the other regions and allocate section A, section B, all the way to maybe section M to a political a contractor. Then when I know that in this area, let's say Chimota, towards Ofanko, maybe Akwetema, I know Fred Duhu Company Limited is responsible for the street lights. And then the other bit, which no matter how many times this woman or the minister tries to do a lot in Accra, the thievery. They were reported some I think there was about a year or two on the Achimota the Dimples runabout towards Achimota Forest, where you carried an interview. Almost all the street lights were there, but the cables and the chokes had been taken away.
So do you feel we should empower the assemblies to play a more watchdog role with regards to the protection, right, against TV and all of those things? Is that the role of the assembly in all of this, rather than fixing or maintaining the street lights?
They need to have that kind of system. But I think all of us, in fact, the last submission I made on ChannelOne was that we have to be responsible as a country. if I'm driving, maybe not in the late night, maybe early part of the night, or even sometimes during the day, because some of these guys are now doing this act of thievery during the day. They wear some, yes.
They wear the protective gear.
There was an arrest like that.
And
There was an arrest like that around Ayimensa to Peduasa Lodge. I think 2023. The guys were actually during the day working on the post, the street lights. It took one Ghanaian or two to actually confront them that he suspected a foul play on the street lights. And then when they were confronted, I think the assembly came in and there was some arrest that was effected during that time. So we need to have one particular dress that those who are supposed, that's why I said that if we actually know in my area that this contractor has this signages in their vest, what they wear, to be doing remedial maintenance and installation of this street light when they go faulty or when they go bad. When I see any other question mark on that place, I'll be able to confront whoever is running the show at the time. The other thing I've realized is this, you know, just as a street light, when there are accidents on the street lights, the police will come in and then do their checks, they will do their testing, and then when they are done, they release the cars to the victims to go and repair their car after they have done whatever happens at the police station. I think that when this accident actually involve our street lights, it's really important that the MTTD who are handling such accidents report to the assembly so that the assembly will now come and evaluate the extent of damage to some of the street lights and surcharge. Either the person is taking responsibility or the insurance company where the car is insured, so that we don't always have this haphazard. It ends at the police station, the vehicles are released. The minister will be doing so much in Accra.
Right.
With just 3 accidents, will just thwart her effort in maybe a very long stretch of the road.
All right.
So
Engineer
the police
Mahama, before we let you go, though, let me ask you briefly. You mentioned that if every street light is on, the load that would be on our energy would, maximize. But we pay for street lights, if I'm not mistaken. When your ECG bill comes, we pay for street lights. Also address the fact that, do you think it's time we move to smart energy efficient systems so that the load that you mentioned can be mitigated a little? LED smart.
Yeah,
Yes, energy efficient lights.
Yeah, we started with some of this. In fact, when the Kaswa bypass was constructed in 2015, 2016, there were these solar lights that was actually put on the full stretch of the Kaswa bypass. So they didn't actually need lights, direct energy to power the lights during the night. They were even automated when let's say around 5 o'clock in the evening, when darkness is just falling, the signal just picks up and then the lights are on. So that is one sector that we can actually address. It also has to do with the thievery I said. They have those solar panels and those street solar lights come with some panels underneath. So it has to be well secured. Once these are well secured, it means that we will have some sustained lights within the community. It is so. And the other thing is, when you stated of the fact that when we pay our bills, in fact, mostly now we paid. So we're actually paying even before our lights come.
Interesting.
But
yeah, thank you.
As for the energy, once the energy is short, no matter the time, the number of money that you have paid for your meter and your light, once there's not enough energy, you wouldn't have enough supply for for your light within your community.
Thank you so much, Engineer Mahama. It's always a pleasure having you. Hopefully we'll keep the conversation going so you're able to share more insights to this for us. But we've been joined by the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Madam Linda Oklu, also Member of Parliament for Shai Osudoku. Good morning, Madam, and welcome to Sunday Breakfast.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes.
Greetings to your cherished viewers and listeners.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us, and also congratulations on the successful handling of the recent nomination confirmation for MCs in Krowo and in Ayawaso East.
Yes, Ayawaso North.
Ayawaso North. Yes.
Yes.
Amazing. Today, we are looking at the issue that has to do with the state of street lights in the country. You promised to fix, on February 4th this year, you promised to fix 70% of our street lights in the capital in 50 days. It's been 119 days after. In your own assessment, where do we stand in your pledge to fulfill this promise?
All right, thank you so much. I think within the 50 days, I met my target. I mean, we were able to fix 100, and I think we lighted 128 streets, 128 streets, and afterwards, again, we've done about 30 streets in addition. And so we are almost 85% through. Per my assessment, we are 85% through. It's only the challenges we have, because as I'm speaking to you now, the entire stretch of Okonglo is off. I went myself with people to go and check the place and roads and highways. We noticed that some of the cables has been stolen. And then the photo cell, that light, the bulb, also has been stolen. So these are some of the challenges we are facing. Those that we are yet to fix, like His Excellency the President's Church, the entire church is yet to be fixed because of the budget that came. I mean, the budget is so huge to the extent that we have to fall on other NGOs to see if we can fix those places. The budget is so huge.
Interesting.
But all the entire church, all the cables has been stolen. And so we have to refix another cables before we can even think of fixing the street lights. And so these are some of the challenges we are facing. And so we have to go back to Okonglo and then engineer everything. And so that's the challenge we are facing.
Interesting. Are you able to tell us the areas? You said 85% of the street lights have been fixed. Are you able to tell us the remaining areas where these street lights are yet to be fixed?
Yes, unfortunately, I'm in church, but I mean, if you revisit my statement, I mean, within the 50 days, I mentioned all the streets that have been lighted. I mean, I mentioned it. So, because I'm in church, I don't have the figures here with the table here with me.
No problem.
And so, I mean, subsequent interviews, I can let you know the street that has been lighted. I'll let you know.
We'll appreciate that. We are also being told, my reporter tells us that the whole stretch of the N1, which cuts through many assemblies, there's no single light on that stretch. Has that come to your notice as regional minister?
I'm very much aware. In fact, during my interview, I said, those roads are under construction. There are roads that are under construction that we cannot fix the lights until the roads are being handed over. Until they hand over the roads, we cannot fix the lights.
The N1,
because it was intentionally removed. Yeah, there are some, the pavement, they are working on those stretches. And so the lights have been removed. Not that the street lights are not working. It was intentionally removed by the roads and highways.
Honorable Minister.
We're also being told that the Ablekuma stretch all the way to the Pokwase area, there's no single street light on the stretch. Has that also come to your notice?
Well, Pokwase, I even saw, a statement made by Franklin Kujo. I mean, praising me on the Pokwase stretch that the lights are on. I'm yet to go there and see, for myself, what you just said. But per my record, Pokwase, that area was fixed. And so, I don't know what to say. I have to revisit the place.
So we'll be glad if you can revisit, because you are getting quite a number of messages pointing to the fact that
is what I want people to give me the feedback of those stretches that are off, places that the lights are not on, and so that we can work on it. And so if you can also help me by giving me the areas, those areas that are off, I can assure you that within some weeks it will be fixed.
My colleague Fred, who has followed this extensively, has a couple of questions for you, Mr. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Minister, Fred here.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. I need a bit of clarity, actually. Is it the case that there are street lights that are not functioning? We have the poles that you intend to, operationalize them, like fix them, before you took office and made that promise? Or these are new street lights you intend to install?
New.
They are totally new.
Totally new.
Okay.
Yes. Almost 80% of the lights were off. I mean, the bulbs, the light itself, is not, you cannot replace it. So we have to replace it with a new light. And, and then the 20%, the lights, they don't have issues with the light, just that the cables were stolen. And so we have to refix the cable so that the lights can be on.
My colleague Jude asked about the N1, and you alluded to the fact that the roads that are under construction is going to be quite difficult to, as it were, engineer any form of street lights on those stretches. But I can put on record that from the Accra Mall all the way to La Paz, there is no construction going on that particular stretch, and that road has been there for long, and the entire stretch is dark. And that is maybe you may not be privy to the road we are talking about. So let me just give some of the key areas to avert your mind to some of the road or this particular road in question. We are talking about the Fiesta Royal stretch, Accra Mall all the way to La Paz, Jowlu. That entire stretch. I mean, there is no light working. And this is a major road. We can even term it as international road because when vehicles are traveling all the way from the eastern part of the corridor to the western part, they use this particular stretch. The big trucks that cut goods from Benin, Nigeria, all use this particular stretch. There is no light on that particular road. What is your response to this?
Okay. Please give me, today is Sunday. Tomorrow, because I'm confirming the DCs, I'll ask some team, the roads and highways, I'll inform them immediately after church service. I'll call them to draw their attention of the places you just mentioned, and so that please be rest assured that give us up to close of the week. We'll see that what we can do.
Madam Oklu, I have one question. We keep mentioning the fact that there's thievery going on with these street lights. Are there any instances or what are we going to do to curb these thieves from continuously stealing these street lights or the cables that make them function?
I'm suggesting perhaps it may be that because the DCs are not as posted yet. We are still confirming the DCs, and so after confirming them, I think that's my first message to them. They should make sure that they form a task force to protect the street lights. We've also told the police to patrol those places that have been fixed. We've told them, we've written to the police service so that they will patrol, they will give us a team that will be patrolling. Okay. I mean, they also assured us that they will be doing that. But sometimes, I don't know what happens. Perhaps if they leave the site and go before someone will call them, hey, they're away for no, dealing with the scraps. They came to remove someone. And so we ask the citizens, what are you also doing? I mean, when you see people close to their posts, what are some of the questions you ask them? And so we should help each other, my dear. If not, this issue is going to escalate.
We'll help each other.
Yes, we should help each other. If you see someone close to a post, you have the right to ask the person, what are you doing here? I mean, even if the person is from a company, my dear, find out from the company if indeed the person has been sent to undertake whatever exercise.
On this platform, we'll urge the public to play their watchdog role. But we understand you're in church, so we want to keep it very brief. But finally, before you go, and also thanks for your assurances on the N1 stretch about getting back to the assemblies to ascertain what the issue is. We'll come back to follow on that one. But finally, we are being told that the assemblies which you supervise really do not have capacity in terms of ensuring that these street lights are on. Per law, we are being told the Energy Commission, the Energy Ministry, and the Finance Ministry also have a role to play in keeping the lights on. And I'm referring to the street lights. Is it about time we begin conversations about whose role it is really to ensure that these lights are on after the whole fixing phase?
Oh, yes. In fact, when we met I met the roads and highways, we met the urban and feeder roads as well. And then we met all the technocrats within all the 29 district assemblies. We asked them, I mean, what are some of the problems, the challenges they face in terms of the maintenance? Also with the roads and highways, the feeder roads, and the urban roads. And it was there that they told the assemblies, the directors, that, in fact, the inner roads, the assembly is directly in charge. And so they have to take charge of the inner roads, while the roads and highways also take charge with the highways. And so we've made them aware that this is, I mean, what is coming from roads and highways. They said they are not aware. So now that they are aware, I mean, we are hoping that, I mean, they should also wait till all the lights goes off. We told them they should have a patrol team. That would be, I mean, going to the places, I mean, the visiting the site, and so that if even one street light is off, we can replace so that it wouldn't, I mean, if I tell you the cost involved in fixing all the street lights, my dear, it will surprise you. And so it's capital, very expensive.
Capital intensive.
Yes, capital intensive. So it's not easy to one street light. You ask yourself, how much is one street light? I mean, for you to fix the entire stretch. We've also pleaded with the Energy Commission because they also take, I think, some charges. And when you pay your electricity bill, there are some charges. They said it's for the light that they consume, but not for the street light. And so we are also pleading with them that, I mean, if they can do something about it, I mean, empower the assemblies. And so that when anytime the lights are off, they can use those small monies to maintain the lights. And so these are some of the discussions that are ongoing. And so we'll make a headway. I mean, at the end of the day, we'll find a solution to that.
Minister, your Parliament House stretch is dark, so kindly add it to your list. From region about to Parliament House, it's also dark.
It's well noted. I'll work on it.
Thank you so much, Madam Oklu. And you can be assured that Channel One TV, we here will follow closely. Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion. Fred,
that was intense.
Are you okay? Are you satisfied with some of the answers that were given?
See, she's more of a coordinating minister. All the assemblies under her jurisdiction, she's more like a person who is supposed to coordinate and ensure that these assemblies send their engineers to work. Like Engineer Mahama said, she's a minister, a Greater Accra Regional Minister.
Yeah.
But the various assemblies, this is their responsibility because they have the various departments under them. They have the various route and maintenance departments under the various assemblies. She can make the promise as if the president is not there, she's next, like in terms of the regional
architecture
governance and everything. Yes, she can make the promise, but it takes a certain level of zeal and commitment to ensure that the assemblies also find the resources to do this.
I don't want to take anything away. I think that commitment, right? And for me, I credit her for even the boldness to make a pledge like this and actually follow it up. Some people make promises, some ministers make promises. When they realize that it's too big a call, then they start hiding from the media for it. So, yes, it was an ambitious call. Yes, it was big. But has she shown some commitment?
Yeah.
I think that you can't take away from her.
Obviously, I mean, Jude, you are right with that. We are not here to blame her. We are not here to chastise her.
Because she's only been in government for 4 months, right?
Well.
A lot
but
of them,
no one also placed the gun to her head to make their promises.
Well, the media accosted her.
She saw, before coming into office, she did her own assessment. Or even when she received the call that you are going to be the Greater Accra Regional Minister, she would obviously take pen and paper and jot certain things down that these are my priority areas. These are the things I want to do, like she said, in 50 days. So if she's committed to it, she should have find out. Like, I mean, Engineer Mahama said, which agencies, which ministries can I talk to for them to attach that sort of agency to this whole conversation? If the finance ministry said they don't have resources, how far can she go with this promise?
Exactly.
So I want to believe that before coming to make that promise, she weighed it and then understood what is at stake. And she believed that she could do it. Okay. So major stretches that I keep emphasizing, I am using those major routes to now assess it.
So
if the major routes are not well lit,
how much
I don't want to believe that those. I was driving on the.
I know you'll follow up on this story.
Obviously, we do.
Yeah,
see, I was driving from Volta region the other day to Accra, and the entire stretch.
Was dark.
This
I
is
think
an
you wrote
ECOWAS.
about it,
This
right?
is an ECOWAS route.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake,
yeah.
we are marking ECOWAS as 50. I have a whole video that I've done about it that we could play, but I don't know if we have much time on this. But see, we need to really show some commitment. If you go to other countries where you can easily drive at night, you can move and do anything at night, and the entire place doesn't feel like
No, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying that Togo is well lit with proper rules. But Fred, thank you, and I know you'll definitely follow up on this.
We'll follow up. We'll sure hold her feet to the fire.
Channel One TV will hammer on it, and we'll definitely follow up on the street light issue. There's so many messages coming in, but we'll read them later. So don't go away. We have more for you right here on Sunday Breakfast.